Salama family, Salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. Today we're going to have some of our patron guests on, and we're going to be talking about the religious Jews versus the covenant Jews. And also, I want to, make sure that we all understand. Let's be, nice. Let's not be combative. Let's not, tear people down. This is just a nice general discussion because I know we can get emotional sometimes. And understand too, I don't need no more strikes. So if y'all can help me out with that, family. So right now we have Brother Karras. Brother Karras, say hi to the family.
Shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, family.
So family, there's in my opinion, from what I see, the awakening, it has continued, right? The awakening is, in my opinion, getting to the point where it's going to become mainstream, if not already, because we're being discussed now, and a lot of people are recognizing who we are. And I'm gonna start off with a clip, from Pastor William Brown with his interview with Shapira, Rabbi Shapira, and we're gonna have a discussion about that. But then we're also going to discuss a book where it's really an interview that was done by Dr. Bruce Haynes called The Soul of Judaism. So we're going to discuss that as well. All right. So I'm going to play the clip by Morey Brown and Rabbi Shapiro.
Like that. In 15 years, people heard my messages. I don't say God spoke, but that was different. I heard God's voice in such a clarity that I got scared. And he says, do you see those two clouds that coming together forming one? He says, go read Romans 11:16, which I knew. He says, this is Africa and this is African Americans. Mm-hmm. And this is what I want you to do. In a second, I'll tell you what he told me to do. And I said, God, you're crazy. I'm running away. I'm not doing this. Not interested. He says there, when the first fruit become holy, sold the lamb. And I heard the word. You healed the root. The root is not African Americans. Listen, the root is Africa. You heal the root relationship to Israel. And understand their identity in relationship to the house of Israel. A great healing will come to the relationship between Africa to the African American community, to ultimately Israel. Because the Torah gives us a principle. The first fruit determines the rest of the harvest. Right. This is a principle of Torah. Okay? And he says to me, drop everything you do, build a seminary for anybody in Africa and anybody in African American descent, and give it for free. Don't even charge a penny. Drop everything. The moment we announce it to the world, the wave of anti-Semitic attack that came upon our organization by Black Israelites, African Americans, were so huge. I knew that that's what God wants to do, because the level of attack and persecution we started to get.
So let me ask you this, Rabbi. So even after you said that African Americans and those who still live in the continent of Africa now are the seed of Israel, you still get attacked?
Oh, it's worse now. Actually, now it's the worst it's ever been. These last 6 months, it's catastrophic. By a lot of groups, like a Black Israelites group, which, I have a lot to say, but I will keep it for another program. And this is not the point yet. But you have to understand something.
All right. So one thing, we notice here is that, one, he said that the root comes out of Africa, right? Of pretty much Judaism. And at the same time, he mentions that they're going to, he's creating these yeshivas or whatever, if I got that pronunciation correct, y'all correct me, that he's building to educate us and train us. Well, we're not looking to be educated by them. We're not looking to be trained by them, because in our mind, and as they know, according to scripture, according to prophecy, we are the true descendants of Jacob. So I don't know where he's coming from as well when he talks about the anti-Semitism. I mean, maybe it's coming from camps, right? Maybe camps are bothering him. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything, right? But he states that there's anti-Semitism coming from the Black Hebrew Israelites. Well, you need to clarify, right? Because I want to know who's doing it, because I don't see it from us, because we're minding our own business. Now, I think the biggest thing is that we're not looking to associate. We're not looking to unite. We're not looking to be trained and educated in Judaism. Okay, we're looking to follow Yeshua. We're looking to follow the Torah, right? We're not looking to follow the Talmud. We're not looking to follow the Kabbalah. We're not into any of that. And if that's anti-Semitic, then I guess it is, right? But what's your thoughts on that, Brother Karras?
Well, look, we're here today listening to this conversation by the rabbi and now Bishop Brown. Shout out to them. It's good to have that conversation. It really is. The problem is the narrative is always the same. And here's what I believe is what we're seeing taking place. The awakening is too big for them. Whatever agents, whatever agency they may have had to either dilute or cause whatever to go astray in the past, it's no longer controllable. And they're losing that control. And now that you lose control, you have to address something that you lost control over. And yes, the speaking that they're trying to use in that very covert terminology of they're getting all this anger, they're getting all this by these groups. Look, we've heard that terminology.
You just went silent, Karras, in mid-sentence.
Okay, sorry. Oops, I hit the mute. No, you actually have to specify now, because see, all of the name and wordplay that they were great at is no longer holding its power, because see, when we're actually directly stating who we are, what we have, why it's proven, what the history shows, and now for them, the whole point was, how do I cover up the conversion? Because this is where there's two dynamics here. This is the dichotomy. The dichotomy is the bloodline and the converts. So this is what they're trying to do. Well, now we'll accept you as long as you follow these standards, as long as you follow these guidelines. And we're not trying to follow any of that, because we're saying, listen, we know who we are. We're declaring the scriptures that were said in Isaiah's chapters 45 through 48, that we would be cut off from our heritage, that we would have been here in this time exactly the way that we are in this disposition, that we would be awakened in the land of our captivity, and that our captors would be doing the same things that they're doing right now, because the Most High is coming. Look, the scriptures were saying, I was reading this in Isaiah 47. Look, we're going to be rejoicing and singing as we're coming out of Babylon. You want to know why? Because our captivity is literally being exposed. And it's being exposed really not by us, but it's by them. And the more that they talk about it, they're trying to rein in the conversation. You know, well, let me get ahead of this. Let me cut this thing off. But the more that they try to rein ahead or, you know, cut it off, the more they're bringing it to light and the more people are asking questions. So for them, it's literally becoming a catch-22.
And see, the other thing is this: what is the calling on a religion and the calling on a people, right? What is the calling? The calling for Israel is to show forth the glory of God. The calling of Israel is to point the world to the Messiah, to be a light, right? And so can we say that the religion is doing that? Can we say that the religion doing that? I say no, because the religion is just that. It is the doctrine of men. It is the pursuit of a religious tradition, right? It is not by the Spirit, right? And so now the other thing we have to ask is this question, and I'll let you talk after this, brother. Say it with your chest. The other question is, and you know, don't take it the wrong way, where were y'all for the last 400 years? See, because as I look through history, I see that there was a relationship between the bloodline Israelite and the converts. And I see through history that where we went, a lot of you all went. And that when the heat came and when the Catholic Church pursued us, right, some of you all followed with us, right? And at the same time, once it became vogue, let's say, to be considered white, that you all abandoned us. And we see it through history. We see that you own the slave ships, you own some of the plantations. So my question is, where were you all then, and why now do you recognize it? Is it that you all have all of a sudden awakened that we are the true Israelites, or did you already know? Now, according to our research, you already knew who we were. Brother, say it with your chest.
Hey, what's going on, family? Glad to be with y'all. What's up, brother Karras and Jacoba?
What's up, my brother? How's it going?
I'm good, man. Blessed, you know. Yeah, you know, everything done in the dark comes to the light. Like, this is what we're seeing. Like, you know, I mean, they know there's too much irrefutable evidence of who we are, and it was coming forth in trickles, and now it's like a flood. So really, you know, they're trying their best to get in front of it, like Karras was alluding to. But beyond that, I mean, they know it will be revealed. I mean, a lot of the Gentiles know this at this point, to be honest with you. And I was I was at my mom's maybe a week ago or something like that, and she was watching TBN and, you know, Daystar and all those, and you know, they're doubling down. I mean, I think the son of Crouch, the guy running TBN now, he was interviewing the replacement for Netanyahu. You know, they're talking about, you know, all these things going on there, and they're still going with that prophetic timeline over there and all that. And it's just, to me, it's beyond silly at this point, because if you know who the people are, and, you know, those aren't, you know, people, I mean, why are they keeping up this charade? Because this is the whole charade that this whole world system is propagated on, subjugating Yah's people. And I mean, there's so much invested in it, they can't just separate from it. I mean, the Ish people, I mean, they've done just about almost everything abominable that Yah hates. They are the synagogue, per Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. And that's their role. That's the covenant they made, to be that. And, you know, Rome is with them. They're all colluding together. I mean, the whole world colluded together against us. So it's just, Yah is just doing a wonderful thing, a great thing, and bringing all this foolishness to be exposed now that, I mean, they have to try to stop it, to get in front of it a little bit, to try to blunt it. But I just want to say real quick, I used to be with a ministry, it was a truth ministry more than a actual ministry, but she was a preacher based out of Texas. When I first started speaking with Dante, like in the comment section, I told them about it, and she's a Gentile. She does a lot of truth work. Three Hearts Church, but I left them about 3 years ago because basically she did a whole expose on the Ish people, very thorough expose, not being the people. And then the next week she went on to say that we're not the people. So I'm like,
but she couldn't prove it though.
She just had to say that, her pride would not allow her, quote unquote, W pride would not allow her anything else to believe. She just couldn't absorb that. You know what I mean? But she went into great lengths to expose who they are and all their lineage. Very detailed, very well done. I gotta give it to her on that. So when I seen that, I'm like, okay, I completely stopped listening to anything she had said. I just jumped. You know what I mean? I never gave her any support, anything else after that. But it was just telling to me that really they serve a different God. That's it. Because when I was in, European Christianity, I didn't see race in the way they did. Like the Ish people, when I came across them, I gave them reverence because I believe they were the people. You know what I mean? That was the love of, if these are Yah's people, I have to love them. They're Yah's people. I believed, the Palestinians are, those aren't, they're going against Yah's people. So I believed all that crap. So the point I'm trying to make is, why can't we get the same treatment? You know what I mean? I mean, if they go do their research, they know very well who we are, what we've endured. It's prophetic. It lines up with the word. It's all there.
You know what else? Say it with your chest. I noticed in the interview, and I'm glad, I just want to let y'all know, I'm glad that brother Morey Brown did the interview, because it says a lot. Because he was talking about the lowercase Israel and the capital, or the uppercase. And I wonder who the lowercase Israel is, right? The servant level Israel is, because it seems to me, because from my understanding, they believe that they're from the tribe of Judah, and Judah is the one that's going to rule. So therefore, they are talking about, us learning from them, right? We're coming from the diaspora and from the scattering, and we're supposed to fall under them. Well, that's not what the scripture says.
I gotta catch up with you, brother Ikoba. I don't know if you guys were reacting to something. I didn't start the live stream. I didn't see what you guys, if you showed a clip or something or an interview. I don't know what you're talking about yet. So
okay, yeah, we started off with a clip, and it was talking about the anti-Semitism that he claims exists amongst the Black Hebrew Israelites. And I was like, well, what anti-Semitism? Who are we talking about? We talking about camps, or are we just talking about the ones like us who says, look, we're not the same people? Okay, is that anti-Semitism, right? Yeah. And so then I know, Pastor Kelly did a breakdown, a playbook about that particular interview, and he was talking about the uppercase and the lowercase, and he was exactly saying that basically we have to come and serve under them, even though we may be Israel, right? And even though we the root, right? We support, because I believe they think they're Judah, which we know they're not. We're supposed to come and sit under them. So let me get Sister Shebrew input on this.
Shalom, family. How's everyone doing?
How you doing, my sister?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. So I just wanted to say, I just find it very peculiar that, they want to really control the narrative of our awakening. And they would, halfway admit that we're the people, but at the same time won't admit that they are not the people and who they actually are. As it becomes more popular and more people are, awakening, they want to steer the vehicle. They want to control how everything is coming out and, put their spin on it to make sure that they're still included. It's like, okay, yeah, they're the people, but we're the people too, but they're not.
Exactly. But they want us to say they are, right? That's what
absolutely.
They want us to.
Absolutely. And I just don't have the patience for that. It's like, either you're going to tell the whole truth about the matter, or we can't, darkness can't walk with light. It might, the way that I'm set up, what I mean? It's like, nah, I can't rock with that.
And see, that's the other thing, right? It becomes anti-Semitic when we say we're the people and they're not. Well, somebody is and somebody ain't. It's obvious we're not the same people, right? Now,
Exactly.
I find it interesting, as the awakening continues, right? I did the video about Fred Price Jr. and we see him awakening as well. I watched his video today, and he was talking about how the people of the Bible were black and Jesus was black, and that they lied and it was whitewashed and all these things, right? And to me, some people attacked him because he didn't come out strong enough, and he was saying, at least one of us must have been a Jew, right? And I think what he's doing, just my opinion, he's trying to slowly bring people in to the idea and the discussion. So I ain't gonna hate on nobody who's slowly coming in, right? You can't hate on that, right?
Right.
And we all started off, hey, I wonder if this is true. Let me look at it. Let me get some more information. And I think that's where he's at, right?
Right.
And so, when we look at this awakening, is becoming a problem, because if you have someone of his stature and influence wakening people up and people listening, hey, maybe those Israelites are not crazy. Maybe it's true that they are the people of the book. It becomes a threat, right? And so as Karis was saying, and you say it as well, they want to usurp us. They want to control the movement, right? They can't stop it. They know they can't stop it. They can't disprove it. All they can do. Here's my thing. I was like, well, why don't they just ignore it like they've done for the last 400 years? Right? Why didn't they just ignore it? It's because they can't stop the awakening. Too much information, too much proof that cannot be gainsayed, right? And so now all of a sudden we're a threat or we're anti-Semitic because we don't want to hold hands and sing kumbaya. Well, like we say, y'all enslaved us, your ancestors enslaved us. Not only that, let's talk about it. You want to give us some money to come and join your ministry or whatever it is, yeshiva, whatever they call it. You want to give us money, $2,000 to come and be trained under you. How about restoring all the money from your ancestors, from when our ancestors were serving them and not getting paid? How about that? How about giving us some money so we could return back to the continent where we were taken from? How about that? How about we have those conversations first before we ever talk about whether or not we're going to shake hands?
Period.
That's how I feel about it.
I completely agree. It's like, if you've been done wrong, we can't just pick up in the middle. Like, you have to acknowledge what you did, you know what I mean? And before you try to make amends, before we move forward, you have to, acknowledge you're wrong. We just can't just pick up like nothing ever happened. That's not how that's going to work.
That's what I'm saying. How are you going to punch me in my face and now you say, hey, you want to go to the store together and go get some candy? I'm like, no.
Exactly.
Apologize.
Right.
Say you were wrong. Pay for my medical bills. You know what I'm saying?
And then we can address going somewhere together, know? Yeah.
But we hateful, we're anti-Semitic because we say, first, we're not the same people, which is obvious, right? Second, there's a payment due, right? So people get mad at that, right? And so then, of course, we got extremists over there, and all these type of things, right? Thank you for the gift for Manassas. We got extremists on our side. You got extremists on your side. Same thing. Look, let's talk about Israel. We talk about Israel. What did they do to the Ethiopian Jews? Come on now. We know this whole thing ain't kumbaya moment. Let's be honest about it, right? And so when we want to call a spade, we're hateful, right? You're not doing the work. You're not Christian like. Well, Yeshua said, I ain't come to bring peace. He said, I come to bring a sword. I come to bring division. He didn't say we're going to be singing kumbaya. Why? Because the dividing line is going to be him. The dividing line is going to be the word. The dividing line is Torah. Not only that, the dividing line is who's the people? Because guess what? There's a prophecy about a people. There's a judgment that happened to a people. There's a restoration of a people.
So,
any comments?
I'm just wondering if they don't want to admit that they aren't the people because of the world which turn on them per se. It's like, oh, so y'all been saying that y'all the people since 1948, and now all of a sudden you're not, and we've been giving you millions and millions of dollars. Like, is that it? I mean, is that a factor in why they won't admit that they're not the people? Because they know. I mean, you can't. I'm sure some of them are deceived just the way that some of us are deceived that we're not the people. But I think that the majority of them actually know that they're not the people.
They know now, right? Everybody's talking about it. Their own people talking about it. Rabbis talking about it. Non-rabbis talking about it. Thank you, Michael, for the gift. Everybody's talking about it. Now, we got people on our side that want to deny all the evidence. They want to deny all the rabbis that's waking up. They want to deny all the Jewish Ashkenaz who are waking up and saying we're the people. We're not the only ones saying we're the people. Everybody wants to deny the truth, right? But here's the thing. If we're awakening and we awoke before you awoke us, you didn't tell us who we were. God woke us up. So how come we going to listen to you? If we woke up before you, then there's something we got to do, because guess what? You didn't know, apparently, right? There's a job for us. There's a mission for the true descendants of Jacob. What's your thoughts? Say it with your chest. I'll be right back.
I mean, the elite have long known we're the people. You had the quote from Henry Kissinger, the Evos are the wandering Jews, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's, that was in the 70s or something. He said that. Then Mubarak from Egypt, the president of Egypt, said, the Jews left black and came back white. I mean, it just gets to a point where it's like, we don't, if they want to go through all the evidence of it, I mean, they'll never do so publicly because it'll just put them to shame. But yeah, a lot is old and a lot will have to be restored for us, here in the land, here in the continent, on the continent and all around. I mean, just for the brutality of everything that's been done to us as a people, that, I mean, it just has to be recompensed. And, it's all this hesitancy to acknowledge the truth. This is exactly why their kingdom is going to be destroyed. And, Yah said Babylon would have been restored, but, they want to double step. They want to have it, their cake and eat it too. They just don't want to come right and just do the right thing and just be honest with it. It's got to be all this subterfuge. It's got to be all this, sleight of hand and but you're, we are and you are. Nah, we're not. You know what I mean? We all can't be Israel. You know what I'm saying? It's not a democracy,
Look, it's just like Abraham Lincoln, right? He had descendants, right? Everybody can't be descendants of Abraham Lincoln. Okay? It just can't happen. Everybody can't be descendants of Jacob. It's just not the case. So don't hate on us when we wake up according to prophecies, right? Now, I'm gonna show this other clip. It's from I forgot the name of the channel, but it's called The Soul of Judaism, Jews of African Descent in America. And they were interviewing Dr. Bruce D. Haynes, and he's a Black scholar. Now, Dr. Bruce, he's an intellectual Black man. He married to an Ashkenazi woman. Now, he went to Yale. Now, all of these degrees don't mean nothing to me because, be honest with you, I haven't read the book, so let me say that first. I just listened to the show, but based upon the conversation that was had, I'm not convinced he dug deep enough, right? Just like I wasn't convinced that Fred Price dug deep enough, right? But I give him the benefit of the doubt that he's reaching out and he's trying to do the work. But, basically what Dr. Haynes had stated in this particular interview, I could have found on Wikipedia. So we're going to look at that right quick.
Have three basic chapters about three basic kinds of Jews of African descent. You have Hebrew Israelites as a kind of a category, Black converts as a kind of a category, a really fascinating one, and biracial Jews also. Can you walk us through them? And while you're doing that, David Coleman from the Q&A wants to know approximately what are the numbers that we're talking about Black Jews, and I think he means in America.
Okay. Well, let me start with the last question first, because that's easier.
Okay, great.
So the first, depending on which survey you look at, anywhere from 1.7 to 2.1% of the American Jewish population self-identifies as Black and Jewish. And those numbers are should be understood with the growth of the multiracial Jewish community, which those numbers are growing, I think, maybe even faster when we look at the distinction between, say, 1990 and the current era. And there we have anywhere from 10 to 12% of the American Jewish population that self-identifies as non-white.
Okay.
So, question 2, Israelites, converts, and biracials. What's interesting to me, in some ways, it might be those categories that stand out in the way the book reads. But I guess those are only some of the categories in terms of how I have come to see the community. So for me, it's more that I saw Reform, Jewish Renewal, Orthodox, people who were on the fringes, who belonged to nothing, people who were practicing through the King James Bible, people who were seeking a return to what they believe was their ancestral religion. So those are sort of different groups. But to walk us through the groups that you identified, the Israelite community can be loosely defined as indigenous communities of Black Jews that emerge out of Black contexts, some of which emerge in the late 19th century in places like Kansas. Some emerge in the early 20th century, particularly in the early 1920s and 30s, in places like Chicago and New York. And they're interesting because you have different intersections of religious practice as Black people come into the cities. And so we also have Judaism mixed with Islam in amongst a couple of groups, and Judaism mixed with Christianity amongst a few groups. So there's a whole world of Messianic Jews that I didn't even talk about in the book. And so I had to make a decision on, so this is what was interesting. Well, where is that boundary of who's a Jew? And so one of the things I started to understand is that Rabbinic Judaism in its modern form has sort of split into the different traditional movements. And the Hebrew Israelite community, as they began practicing, was completely outside of any of those movements.
So what do you all think of his characterization of Hebrew Israelite, and the whole thing about Muslim Israelites, which we know we have that, but the whole thing is it was sort of amorphous to me, and what I got from the interview was that he was breaking up. Okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. All right. Let me know if I'm breaking up. So the whole conversation was sort of amorphous, and it seems to me that he was tap dancing around the truth of the matter of the original Jews, or as Rabbi Shapiro said, the root is the African Jew. Thank you. Wait for the gift. So my question is, right, when we look at this whole dynamic of the awakening, because they're talking about us, right? Because this was a Jewish channel. So they're having this discussion about us. Now, we're not a part of the discussion. Now, maybe they think by having, Dr. Haynes on that is good enough to find out what Hebrew Israelism is all about. Now, I wouldn't want them to interview a camp. Don't get it twisted. But it seems to me they're having this discussion and they're tap dancing around the whole issue and the history. I think they need to talk to us, right? I think they need to talk to those who have been doing the research, right? Who have, put together some good documentaries, whether it be Tale Ministries, Hebrew Nation Building, B'nai Israel, whoever. I think they should reach out to us to have that conversation, because right now I just see tap dancing, right? And what's y'all thoughts about that?
Yeah, let me get started here, because I think people need to kind of understand the dynamics of contractual law and what that means in terms of merchants and merchandise. Okay, if you read Scripture, I'm going to point you to a couple chapters. Again, Isaiah 47, 48, and 49. You're going to see how Babylon treats us. And the forms of Babylon through Chaldea and other cities that are mentioned, these are kind of the principles of the civilization. Now, bringing it back to here, contractual law is when you get something received to you, that is as it is. When you buy things, as what do you have? As is, right? When you buy a car, you're going to get everything as is. When you buy a house, it's as is. Now, what they're trying to say, the same merchandising principle is applied to us. We were transferred here to this captivity, so everything that we have is as is. So we're just black. Leave it as is. We're not having the warranty, okay, and all the guarantees coming with us because it was cut off. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is where they try to separate and negate that there's other existential factors that's at play. And you just can't say, well, you're black and you're blackity black because you're black, right? Go get the CB4 soundtrack, go watch the movie. That's you. No, but it's a funny concept, but that's what they promote us as. And now for them, it's very interesting that all they can do is the same thing that they've done in Europe. It was the same thing that they did, because they couldn't chase us and follow us down to Africa. If you watch the Rebirth of a Nation, our Hebrew nation building and reclaiming the throne, you all have to see that if you haven't. I strongly recommend you all getting that. They couldn't get into Africa for a time. However, during that time frame, there was a lot of things going on, because you had the Portuguese. You also had the Dutch, because the Dutch was trying to vie for the merchandise. So was Spain. All of these countries that were there. That's why New York was created, New Amsterdam. So all of these things are at play because they're trying to ensure that they can enrich themselves off of our human capital. But when they tried to do that, of course, let's make sure that your heritage is cut off. Let's make sure that everything that you had known was taken away from you. But the problem is, in this certain context, the information was always in a steady state. And I'm getting okay. The information was always in a steady state in Europe. This is why they always try to say, well, you want to know what? It was the 18th century, 19th century, 20th century, because they know that when they go back further, it's all documented. It's all codified. There's the DNA. There's the historical context. They even know within their own rabbinical teachings, quote unquote, that they wanted to use, that their conversion was their methodology of being the now capital I. because this is their terminology, they were trying to negate us from our heritage. The issue isn't about anti-Semitism, it's about heritage. And when they understand that they have no genetic links to the heritage of being even Shemitic in origin, this is the problem that they're encountering. So the issue is, it's not about, our DNA as we're the most superior. No, that's not about it. Because if you read scriptures, especially Isaiah 46 and Isaiah 47, we're supposed to be a righteous representative for all nations. Isaiah 49, we're supposed to be a light unto the Gentiles, unto the nations, for righteousness. So when they're trying to say, and again, they always will try to emotionalize, because here's the thing, they know how to emotionalize their family. Nobody knows your family other than family. And this is why when you saw that everything going in World War II and leading up to it, you had literally white people getting mad at other white people because they wanted to claim some sort of superiority. Now you have the same thing happening again, because now this is the moment of the Houston, we have a problem, because this is something that these black folks are saying. Now, who are these white folks? And you have to understand, the main issue of this is literally warfare. Because it all goes and ties back to Gog and Magog. Gog has been messing with people's heads. Magog is about to strike. Because here's the problem. Nobody wants to be the underdog, especially in a sibling rivalry. You understand what I'm saying? This is literally the sibling rivalry. And all we're saying is, listen, I don't care what y'all want to say. I don't care what listen, I don't care what you say. You can claim that you're Jews. I'm Yahudim. Okay? I'm Yahudim. You made up the word J 400 years ago. All I'm saying is, listen, all I'm saying is, that's my birthright. This is my lineage. This is my bloodline. Whatever fighting you do, that's none of my concern.
Yep.
And see, they are trying to, no. It's a concern because you're saying it. No, it's not. This isn't a concern for us regarding them. Because you want to know why? Zechariah 8. I'm just speaking truth and walking in peace. Hallelujah. That's all I have to do. Yay and amen. That's it.
Yep.
I don't need to say anything else to you. Now, if you want to inquire, then guess what? I'm required to speak the truth and walk in peace. Now, if they have a problem on the peace end, yay and amen. You know what? That's on you. That's on you. Now, here's the thing. You can get mad about what's happening, but guess what? My God is still bigger than your feelings. Sorry. That's where it's always been. That's how it's always been. So their key is that the control for us was always emotions. We get emotional, we get trapped in our emotions, and it's not that hard. Just walk away, because you want to know why? They're the ones that have to come running. That was always the case. Because why? Because they're losing their power, because we're not taking their power. The Most High is stripping it away from them.
Yep. So, Brother Asaph, any comment?
Good evening and good morning, wherever you are in the United States and all over the world. Yes, we are seeing the traction that has been used to politicize the weakening of our people through history coming to an end now. And as such, the Alka-Seltzer people are still trying to front run the game. They have always been Machiavellian in the way that they operate, in that they choose the side that they feel that is more likely to win, or both sides. And it's not panning out for them now, because on every platform that we have debated them, or we've been coming out and saying that we're the people with documentary evidence and artifacts, and with archaeology and with DNA, it's proving our point. And the firewall of the church, of the black church now, is failing, because the ministers haven't been doing their jobs very well, because they have not been able to blunt the waking up process.
All right. Hebrew girl, welcome. Hold on, let me unmute you.
Okay.
There we go. Hello.
Family, how was I apologize for being late. I just got off a flight and I fell asleep in the car. I'm still in the car. So
Okay.
I don't know what was being said because I just clicked in. I want to get the tenor and what you guys are talking about, but I do have some things I would like to say, but I don't want to go into some other area that y'all not talking about right now because I just
Okay, so let me give you the summary. So
okay.
we started off showing a clip of the video from Pastor Maury Brown with Rabbi Shapira, and talking about how he was saying there's anti-Semitism in the Hebrew Israelite community. And I was like, well, what anti-Semitism amongst Hebrew Israelites? I mean, are you talking camps? Are you talking non-camps? I mean, what are we talking about? And, what kind of anti-Semitism are we talking about? Is it just the fact that people say you're not the people and we are the people? Is that anti-Semitic? And then I also showed a clip of a video by Dr. Bruce Haynes, video about his book called The Soul of Judaism. And it was talking about what is a Jew and who was a Hebrew, and he talked about Black Hebrew Israelites. And so basically our comments was, we're the original people and we're not trying to unite. And basically we're here just to do the Most High's work, and it doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with him and what we're called to do. So what's your thoughts?
My thoughts are exactly that we don't have anything to do with them. They are trying to play the same game that they did before when we went into captivity. But what they don't understand is now it's different. We've done our time. 400 years is up. The
Yep.
Lord has revealed who we are to us, to them, to other people in this world, even the ones, some of them who deny it still. They kind of like, well, maybe, but we are the people. I don't care what anybody say. And I don't think that anybody should host any of them on their platforms, because for people who don't know, for people who are just coming into this truth, I mean, we know everybody on your platform know what's going on, but some people are new, some people don't know. And when I love my people, I love Moray Brown, I love Pastor Kelly, but I think that was totally wrong to interview him. And I'm not going on my feelings. What I'm going on is the fact that it has been revealed who everybody is, who holding what cards, and it has been revealed that is the seed of Satan. Why would you want to host Satan on your platform about something that he has been lying to you about forever? And why would you listen to anything that somebody, Pastor Kelly said, all due respect, Pastor Kelly, if you hear this, I love you and I'm not saying nothing wrong, but why would you say listen intelligently? Why you want to listen intelligently to Satan? He don't have nothing to say to you. You a child of the Most High God. God say, guard your ear gates. We didn't heard what Satan had to say. We have rejected it. So there is no room, nowhere for him anywhere where we are. Just like they put us out and they said we don't want to be with them people, that's what we saying. We saying we the children of the Most High God. We have a God. We following him. We don't need to follow them. We have the Holy Spirit who can tell us who we are, which he has been doing. very well. And I think the only reason some people don't get it or don't know is simply because they don't want to know. And for us who do know, I think he has even revealed more information than we have. It's so much, and it's so vast, and it's been for such a long time that we have not even grasped all the stuff that's there. But the question of, are we the people? Done there, been there, and that's over.
Yeah.
Next, what's
So,
next?
so for me, I'm gonna have to come to Pastor Morey's defense, Morey Brown, because I think he has the right to interview who he wants, and I
Yes.
think if he felt that the information he gave was good for the community, right? I mean, you eat the meat, spit out the bones.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's okay for him to have on who he wants. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I don't like listening to the Ashkenazi Jews, right? I don't like listening either. It's not something I'm interested in. I don't want to hear the conversation, but I mean, he has the right to have whoever he wants on, and because here's the thing. The thing we did learn is what they think, right? What's going on, how they see us, right? Now, apparently,
I don't agree.
well, hold on 1 minute.
We already knew.
Hold on, because like with Rabbi Shapiro, right? We know how they see us, right? They believe that we're anti-Semitic, Black Hebrew Israelites, and we don't even know what we're doing to them to be considered anti-Semitic. But he considers us to be that. We have known that they consider us to be anti-Semitic. If Pastor Brown didn't have him on, right? Well, we know how the dichotomy between wanting to educate us and at the same time call us anti-Semitic. I mean, to me, I thought it was informative. I don't agree with it. And guess what? I didn't necessarily care about hearing anything he has to say or any of the people. Like, for instance, even to the prophet, he wrote a book. He said there's Jews in Africa and stuff. I don't really care about what to the prophet says because, to the prophet sort of walked that line too and said we converts, but seemed like sometimes he might be on the line with that. So to me, I think whoever he wants on his channel, he can have, and I don't think we should beat him up for it. That's just my opinion, because I don't want nobody telling me who to have on my channel.
I understand, but I disagree, and I disagree because he can have who he want on his. He can have Satan himself on there if he wants to. However, if you care about the people, then you wouldn't do things that might harm the people. And my concern is the people who don't know. And the way that interview went off, to me, and I don't think I was in my feelings, but it was like it was agreeing with what he was saying. Now I did listen to it again because I was like, no, maybe I'm wrong. And I did see Moray laugh at something he said or try to hold his laugh. And so I said, okay, well, maybe they just want to get it out there. But even if they want to get it out there, he didn't say nothing that I didn't already know. I already knew. They call us anti-Semitic because they want to be the Semitic people. And they don't want us saying that. He said in that interview that rabbi said, stop saying you Israel. He said that. And so that's why they're calling us anti-Semitic, because we're not to them. Well, they want us to believe that we are not the Semitic people.
Yeah,
And
they want us to believe we're converts, right? And
right,
we're not converts. We're blood descendants, right?
right.
So I don't have a problem with the antagonism you have towards the guest. I'm just saying that I don't think it was wrong for him to have the person on. Now, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but it was sort of productive, right? I don't think it was necessary, but that's not my place. Any other comments on that? Do you all think?
Well, the other thing was,
Who was that? That was you, Hebrew girl, or Sister Shebrew? I couldn't tell who was talking.
No, that was Sister Hebrew girl.
Okay, go ahead.
But I was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead, Hebrew girl.
who talking? Me.
Well, I had a question for the rest of the panel. What do you all think about the interview with the rabbis on Boom Church? Do you think that Pastor Maury Brown should not have had them, or do you think it was okay? What do y'all think? And I'm gonna mute you right now. Here we go.
I tend to agree with you, Minister, because well, first of all, I certainly do understand Hebrew Girl's point. Like I can see eye to eye with her on that, and also with you as well, insofar as a person can have whoever they want to have on their show. But if my thing is it edifying us? Are we coming to an understanding? Are we enlightening them? If it's not doing anything to uplift Israel, to reinforce who we are biblically and historically, then what is the point? That's my whole thing. But as far as to address the other gentleman that was on the other show or whatever, I feel like if he really wanted to, find out more about true Israel, then he should talk to people who are not on the fence, who are not, riding down the middle, but someone like you, someone like this ministry, someone like, Minister Dante, Dr. Kelly, Richardson, someone who's like for real in the trenches doing the work and has done the work, and can back up what they're saying. They're not, oh, well, I think, oh, well, well, maybe. No, they're standing firm on what they know and backing it up.
That's true. But I'm going to tell you this. For me, there's a bunch of Hebrew Israelites I never wanted to hear from either. So if we tell Pastor Maury Brown you can't have these Ashkenaz on, then I'm gonna tell other people don't have these Hebrew Israelites on, because some of them I don't want to hear. Don't tell me about we from America and it's our home. Don't tell me about reading the Book of Mormon. I don't want to hear it, right? So where does it stop? That's how
it doesn't. I
mean,
if that's your platform, you should be able to have exactly on who you want to, and then we, as the listener, as the viewer, then we can decide if that's something that we want to entertain, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, be honest with you. I understand you, Hebrew Girl. I mean, I really do understand. Believe me, my first reaction to seeing it was like, yeah, I don't want to hear this, right? I mean, I really didn't want to hear it. But at the same time, who am I to say it shouldn't be heard? That's just all I gotta say. Let me get your input on this, brother Asaph, Karis, and then say it with your chest.
Okay. Should I go or
let Asaph go, then Karis, and then say it.
Yeah, I saw the video with the interview of Elder Brown from Boom Church interviewing Itzhak Shapira, and it is good in one sense and bad in one sense. Any person that's a hardcore Christian that sees an Ashkenazi admit that we are the children of Israel, it will shift their thinking towards us being the people more. But on the other hand, the whole interview was structured in a way that Shapiro was trying to project himself as being superior to the bloodline of Yasharel.
That is true.
And that somehow he had deeper knowledge than what we had, and we have to submit to his knowledge and his teaching, and we've got to come under them, which shows that they're trying to use their hold on their position as a tool of stratification, pushing us back to the bottom under them, when in fact we are the true bloodline of Yasharel, and things should be the other way around. The other point that I'd like to raise as well is that, as I mentioned before, they've always been very Machiavellian, and they've always want to be on the winning side. So having the current political problems that they've got in the land at the moment, and the current push from ministries like Teo Ministries and Dante Forson and other academic works coming out, as well as archaeological evidence emerging now, it's becoming more difficult for them to hold on to this privileged position, because the 400 years is up, which is one of the most salient things ever. And more people are coming into the awakening. So the only way that they can reassert themselves again, as I can see it, is by putting themselves back on the top and trying to change the narrative, but which they can't because there's too many texts that prove that they're not the people. Back to you, Minister.
All right, Brother Karras, what's your thoughts on this topic?
Man, I was just thinking about that because Brother Asaph is in the UK and in that part of the world and in Europe, they are seeing their European championships or soccer. And there's a soccer player, a notable one. He played for Denmark, and the man was in the middle of getting a pass with the soccer ball, and his body just went limp and lifeless. And as the time that they were trying to resuscitate him, all I could think of is he seeing Jesus, and is he going to wake up and say Jesus was a black man? It's a black man. So that was just something that I saw yesterday. I know that was hitting a lot of the European world with that one to see somebody go lifeless. But what that does show is that there's an issue of mortality that they have to deal with. And see, a lot of them don't like to deal with mortality. I'm going to tell you this. Our people are so different when it comes to mortality and death. We look at it because, remember, we're conditioned that that's our heaven. We're conditioned that that's, you go to the sweet by and by. And see, when I don't mind a critical view or a critical look from other people. I don't mind that. But what I do mind is that there's not the scholarly insight in the academic enlightenment that you can only get through reading that provides sense. And we see a lot of people here. Look, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm not the sharpest tool in the tools in the tool set. But what I do, I make sure that the knife's edge continues to be to have the whetstone apply. I continue to sharpen the iron. You see what I'm saying? Because this is what we all expect. We don't expect this awakening to have all the answers. But what we do expect is that if we have people that's on these interviews, which is good, I don't mind it. I certainly don't mind it. But I need to understand the critical thoughts and the analytical work that's there to provide an overall edification. And listen, this is why they don't like debates with us. They really don't. Because a lot of our community, we can emotionalize into things. My awakening wasn't emotional. Oh man, I found out that I was the person, or that I was the people, and I went to the corner and I grabbed my Bible. I blew up some poster boards. Went to FedEx or UPS store, got the banners, got the fireworks, and started yelling at every black person that I could find. And if they're a black person that was kind of suspect, then I call them a Hamite. No, I didn't do that. What I did was, well, let me take a look. Let me get an understanding. Let me understand what it is that's happening. And let me go ahead and form the basis of thought, because that's critical thought. But you have to understand, see, these are the same folks that remember when September 11th was going on, right? In that time frame, for those 3-4 years, they were saying, oh, these Muslims, these Arabs are so dumb because, all they think about is their prophet Muhammad. And then here they are in this time frame, and they can't piece together what Northeast Africa looks like. But you know, my thing is, I don't mind when you have somebody interviewed or is interviewing that they're coming on over. But I do think that as a people, we have to be cognizant. We have to use our brain power and piece these things together, because we have to expose their narratives. And see, if you don't expose the narratives and you let the narrative kind of run like a hanging chad, then problems occur, because you have to expose every shady concept or thought and go from there. This is why, on debates, look, it's not really to debate. It's okay. I understand your opinion. I understand what you're saying, but then explain this or explain that. This is how you have to move. What? You have to be cunning, right? Be what? Be wise as serpents, right? Soft as doves.
Well, you make a lot of good points, Karis, because I feel the same way. It's sort of like when we initially started debating the urban apologists, the reason was to expose the lies that were being handed out. And so if there wasn't a counter to the lie, and the lie would have took root, right? And it's sort of the same thing I see with the interview of these rabbis. Even though I might have felt sort of uncomfortable wanting to hear them speak, at the same time, not knowing what they're saying about us is a problem, because then there's no counter to it, right? So I think Pastor Maury Brown allowed what they believe to come out, right? And thereby we can talk about it, because otherwise it would be behind the background. They would have been saying, hey, these Black Hebrew Israelites or the camps, they all camps, like vocab says, right? They don't make a distinction. But now we can show, there's a distinction, and not all of us hate them, right? Because Pastor Maury Brown has showed, I had him on there and I was cordial to them and I allowed him to speak. And so now we can talk about it. Say it with your chest. What's your thought?
I gotta say, I didn't see the interview, so I can't really speak to specifics of it, but it sounds like a lot of people probably, people kind of sound a little disgruntled about it. So, I'm guessing the rabbis got to run their narrative somewhat unchecked, but that might be a good thing, because like you said, it gives us insight, so we basically can we know their playbook, which we already knew it, but it gives us even more insight because they let their guard down. So when they let the guard down, now you can exactly as this comment right just said, we can strategize. This is chess. That's just one move. This is just one move. And there's a lot of more moves to come, but dialogue is necessary, because through all this, the people on the fence will see that we're not like the camps or whatnot. We're open to exchange. You know what I mean? And then that's not to demonize all the camps, because a lot of very astute people in the camps. Actually, some of them, it's just the meme of them is not very good. That's all.
I'm gonna tell you this. The problem I have with the camps, because they purposefully lie. Like, let me be straight up with you, right?
Yeah.
Even like what's his name? I'm going blank. The leader of GOCC, right? What's his name?
Mm-hmm.
Rocha,
I'm not too familiar with all the camps. I just know some brothers that came through the camp system.
No, Rocha, right?
Yeah.
Rocha's a smart dude. I don't take nothing from him. The dude is smart, right? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Rocha is a smart dude. I have no problem with him. But how could he believe that the Indians are us and the Filipinos and some of these other people out there don't make no sense? Because I know the guy's not dumb, right? And so I know he's done some research. So I have a problem with that. It appears to me there's some purposeful lying going on. Because look, some people just don't have the thinking skills up there. Let's not get it twisted. Roger's a smart dude, right? I don't take nothing from him. So I don't understand his position.
There's always the controlled opposition element of things. They build up certain people and make them, kind of the authority in that regard. It's like the the brother they was interviewing, the second clip you played, the guy with that wrote the book or whatnot. I mean, yeah, they don't want to interview somebody like you or somebody else, that has, or Dante or somebody else, Pastor Kelly. They don't want to interview strong people in their core Israelite beliefs that have real data and have put this forth and have been convicted by this and have shown all this for years. They don't want to interview anybody like that. They want to interview people, that are giving them some credence and like, well, yeah, maybe, they're lukewarm. They're not even, they don't really have a strong stance either way. And, that's what they want to extend the olive branch to, but it's all being exposed slowly. It might be, like I said, it's, in our community, we know, and that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Y'all's going to take care of the rest. The willful blindness of everybody else that just really, really wants to sweep it under the rug, ignore it. There's going to be a price for that. So I don't really worry about it because there's going to be a price for that because, I mean, at what point are you really seeking truth? Yah is the spirit of truth. All these theologians out there, people have written all these books about Israel and yada, 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 made millions and done all this and done all that, gone to the land and, they've done all this. Yet they don't want to address truth of the Bible. I mean, just where does the name Ashkenaz come from? In the Bible. I mean,
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like simple things. Like why do they go by maternal lineage and, the Bible only goes by patriarchal lineage? I mean, like, it's a lot of silliness. And I mean, like I said, everybody's going to be exposed because Yah is not mocked. So I don't really worry about all this stuff. It's coming out.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
So
I'm
what
just
I'm
waiting
gonna
on
do,
Exodus.
So what I'm gonna do,
I've checked out of the debating, who we are. I mean, because people either want to be open to truth or they don't.
well, I agree with you.
And that spirit right there is telling, because if you really have a spirit for Yah, then you have a spirit that can be. It's like you come onto Christ as a child. Like that's I'm not quoting that scripture right, but you have to have the mind of a child, meaning you can be molded. You're open to learning something.
Yeah.
And that's it. And these people, they know the truth. They just trying to obfuscate it every which way they can, and blow smoke over here to distract us.
So I'm gonna continue with this the Soul of Judaism clips, and we're gonna discuss this even further.
And that gave the legitimacy to manifest destiny and the orientation towards the racial others who are being discovered in the new lands, and Orientalism, which essentially says the West is modern and the East is primitive, provides a very strong basis for the logics that we find in the early race thinking of the 17th century as racial conceptions emerge. And so what I try to show in my book is that ideas about the body and race are beginning to emerge in Venice. But they're not quite full blown as race in the modern sense of the term, which really gets transformed in the 19th century into a biological term. But we're developing the idea that Jews are different, not because of their religious practice. And it's for this reason that we have, in fact, why the Inquisition seems to be so necessary, because the idea is, at first, the belief that Jews could convert. Once converted to Christianity, well, they're good now, they're safe. The belief was that no, they're still secret Jews. There's something deeper about Judaism. Although they say they converted, we know they're secret Jews. And I'm suggesting that this idea of this hidden Jewishness that emerges in this period of persecution in the 1400s is reflective of belief that the Jewish threat is not just the religion, it's in the Jewish body itself. Therefore, conversion is not enough to convince Christians that Jews were safe. Thus, they had to be driven out.
Now,
thus the new Christians were then persecuted.
So, if I hear you right, it really does boil down to the danger of Black bodies or the danger of Jewish bodies. And then by the 17 or 1800s, they have a more substantial biological language in order to describe that. But really, even earlier than on, it was just the existential existence of Jews being present physically that was kind of seen as dangerous.
Well, Tudor Parford has a new book. Do I have it? I used to have it right here. Oh,
Hybrid Hate.
Exactly, Hybrid Hate. And in that book, he does a very nice job of showing how the conceptions of Blackness and Jewishness have been conflated since the early modern era. Now, I picked up that conversation essentially in the 18th and 19th century, and I talked about, the Jewish body and the Jewish nose and how, Jewishness was being conceived in these biological terms. But I think Parford takes it to another level by showing how the very ideas of to make Jews Black and to make Blacks Jews has been a rhetorical strategy for 500 years.
Right. Okay.
And to me, that what he reveals in that is powerful, but it also, I think, supports the argument that I've been making that essentially a new way of thinking about difference in the body emerges with Jews in Venice and a preoccupation with the Jewish body that develops into racial thinking in the 17 and 1800s. And then, and so of course in the 1800s, the belief is that Jews are a race unto themselves. And by the 1900s, there is a shift in the conversation, and Jewish intellectuals like Horace Kalin and others argued for a sort of pluralistic conception of Jewish identity in America, i.e., hyphenated Jewish identity. And that allows a person to be both Jewish and American at the same time, as opposed to being seen as a racial other. And so I kind of argue that Jews have to negotiate that solidification of the color line precisely because in the 18th century, it was widely believed that Jews themselves were a race that may be non-white. And we see this conversation in the late 19th century amongst ethnologists about the exploring the sort of racial origins of Jews and asking the question, are Jews a race or not?
So once again, I felt he was tap dancing. He says that what was it? What is a Jew? What was race? And he talks about how Jews were known to be non-white. Well, let's just say it. In the early pre-1800s, Jews were known to be Black, right? They were described as Ethiopians. Some described them as Egyptians. They were known to be Black. Why didn't he just say that, right? Why does he have to tap dance around the idea that traditional Judaism comes from Africa, as we've heard from Rabbi Shapira? And not only Rabbi Shapira, other, Ashkenazi Jews. So what do you all thought about that conversation? Did it feel like he was tap dancing around it so that he doesn't make his host uncomfortable?
That's exactly what he did. And I don't know if that's related to him being married to an Ashkenazi woman, and him not wanting to offend her and the host, but he definitely, I was just up there like, man, come on, just get to it. You know what I mean? He was
that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
He was just going around and around and around, but still not really addressing what what the truth is. It's annoying.
It was like, please don't make me say it. You're Black.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like this dude was like the most simping Fool that they could find with glasses on.
Precisely. Which is why I said that they would, they would never have, Mr. Teyu, Minister Yako, they would never have them on, but they'd have this guy on because they know he's not going to come out and say it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. What's your thought, ASAP? Go ahead.
His academic research doesn't reach the standard of a PhD,
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Say that one more time.
Yeah, his academic work doesn't reach the standard of a PhD. And both myself and Karis should know something about that, having some experience with doctoral work. The second point that I would like to know. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you something real quick. So I just want to give the balance there that we haven't read his book, so I don't know what's in the book, but from the interview, it makes you look twice at the doctoral level of scholarship, right? But go ahead.
Yes, because you have to be able to present your synopsis of what you've written in an academic and concise way with solid references, and he's used a lot of conceived ideas to project his take on when who the people are, what their ethnicity is. When if you look back to texts like the Jews and Moors of Spain from 1452 onwards, and more modern texts like the Invention of the Jews by Shlomo Sand, you find that what he's saying has myriads of inconsistencies, because he looked at art as well, briefly, without saying it, but he does not cover the iconoclasm by Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, and how the people were transformed from African to European on command of the Pope, which shows that he's done little or no research at all. He's just given his own personal opinions to protect his own personal interests and to have traction with a community that's looking to give itself credibility. I think that it's very poor scholarship coming from this academic from Yale.
Hey, Sav. Okay, let me tag on to that. Listen, he was doing the Billy Ray Valentine on Trading Places. Look, the pork belly's gonna be going on up, and the Billy's gonna be asking about the kung fu grip. The wife's gonna be getting mad because she ain't got her favorite Christmas present. And listen, they are not a people that are white. They are people that are not white. This dude went through so many characters in so short amount of time. Well, I can't say black, but I can't say white. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I
lost brain cells listening to that brother, man. I really, man, that hurt to listen to, man. That's all I can say.
What's your thoughts, Hebrew girl? Let me unmute you right quick. Oh, she dropped off. Hold on. Oops. Hold on. I think she's frozen. I can't unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
Couldn't really.
There we go.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I apologize. I couldn't. Hey, I'm locked in. I think it's time. I couldn't really. Yeah,
Hold on. She'll be back.
My driver was driving me through the trees. So,
Yeah, so you had dropped off twice. So just let you know.
Yeah. So I didn't hear. Really hear what he said. However, I do say one thing about scholars. No disrespect to scholars, but scholars have been the people who have held this information that has been hidden from. And some of them will tell you something. Some of them will tell you. I'm sorry.
You're breaking up, Hebrew girl.
Oh, okay. Maybe this is because I'm.
Did you jump on your Wi-Fi?
I need to go in the house. Okay, we just pulled up. Maybe if I go inside. I was trying to get away from people so you could hear me. But scholars hide information. And
Exactly.
so, you know, some of them not going to tell you the truth or tell you the whole story because that's their job to hide it from
Yeah.
us.
Not only that, you're going to be excommunicated from the academic group if you say certain things.
Exactly. So,
Tony Martin comes to mind. I just had to jump that in. Tony Martin, when
can
he
I
was
say?
talking about the Ashkenaz people.
Okay, let me go inside so I can. Excuse me.
All right, so I have one more clip I want y'all to listen to, and we'll discuss that, and that'll be it.
Early Caribbean was Sephardic Jews, some of whom were slave traders themselves. But because they're establishing communities, these are mostly men, many of them convert many slaves. They intermarry. And in places like Suriname, you have large numbers of mixed race Jews who are practicing, part of this extended Jewish community. And so it's the in the early 1700s, we see these communities split apart, and we also see the Surinamese community make rules against people of color within their own synagogue, which suggested to me, well, you don't need rules against people if people aren't there in the first place, do you? And so you can see that and of course, the early 1700s is precisely the time that in the colonial states, the solidification of the status of slave takes place. So between 1680 and the 1720s, we moved from white indentured servants and Black slaves being treated relatively the same way to perpetual bondage for African slaves and their children, whereas indentured servitude is temporary and is a contract. And so that distinction is not really solidified in colonial law until the 1720s. And so what I argue is that, well, this is exactly the racial piece that Jews start negotiating as early as the 1700s, where they recognize that this mixed race community that's a part of broader extension of them cannot exist in this colonial world. So in some ways, the breakoff was necessary, right? The cleansing of the community from those African people of African ancestry was necessary in order for them to claim whiteness. And so you see some interesting, and then of course, those Jewish traders who became slave traders were themselves fleeing persecution in Europe. So the irony of one group fleeing persecution only to become the intermediaries for slave trading within the colonial states, this is what places Jews in this interesting dilemma in the colonial world.
Yeah, and continuing. I mean, that's in different forms, it's a continuing dilemma. Rachel's going to be on our case in just a minute here. So let me ask you, because we've hit 5 o'clock, we have a sort of a hard and fast ending time. Let me ask you, is there anything that I should have asked you and you'd like to sort of like to close with? What do you wish that,
Yes, yes, I'll say this. I could not have done this research without the voices of the Black Jews who are in my book. The one thing that I wanted to do, because you mentioned this, most of the scholars that approached the Israelite community approached it with this question: are these people really Jews or not? And of course, they concluded, well, they're not really Jews. My challenge was to write a book where Hebrew Israelites would see themselves in the book and say, yes, that's a true representation of my life. And then Orthodox Jews or secular Jews would read my book, who were not Black, and say, yes, this makes sense. This is the Judaism I know. So I had these two goals in my, my ideal was sort of this group of Orthodox rabbis who said, yes, he got it right. and this group of Hebrew Israelites who said, yes, he still gave us respect and didn't treat us like a cult. Because what I started to understand is that all these religious groups are making up an awful lot. And so to certainly say that it's just the Hebrew Israelites who make up religion, I think maybe doesn't take the insights from Bill Maher about religion.
So one of the things that to me, well, I guess I had many issues with this particular interview, but one of the issues I had was that he talked about the Sephardic Jews and how there was this intermixing, and that's how some of them became Jewish. No, I mean some of the ones who came to the islands were obviously mulattoes, and they came from Spain and Portugal. We got the history, but some of them were Sephardic Jews, which, as we know from the studies from Benya Israel and others, right, that the Sephardic Jews were known to be black. So I think when it comes to the level of scholarship, yeah, look, I didn't graduate from Yale. Okay, he graduated from Yale, but I would have to fail or really tell him to go back and redo that book, even though I haven't read the book, but based upon the conversation. Maybe the book is better than the conversation, right? Maybe he talks more about the history, and maybe he's just not bringing it out in this interview. That's possible. But to say that the people who were on the islands, right, who were enslaved by some quote unquote Sephardic Jews, well, some of those Sephardic quote unquote Jews were the white Jews, right? Or some of them may have been the mulattoes, right? I mean, we have to put things in context, because we know from history that the Sephardi were considered black, right? They were known to be black. So I had a problem with that. Now, as he ended his conversation, he said, well, I hope I did good for both sides, and the Hebrew Israelites, making sure that the Hebrew Israelites didn't think I did them wrong, so that I portrayed what they believe and things like that. Well, based upon the conversation you had, I wasn't convinced that you represented us well at all, right? At all. And when it comes to what we do believe, right? I mean, he only went back to the early 1800s and 1900s, and I'm assuming, because he didn't really talk about, the whole urban apologist myth, right, of Cherry, right? And so, to me, the just based upon the interview, like I said, I haven't read the book, but if the book is anything like the interview, I say poor scholarship. Now, I wouldn't want to say that for a brother, right? I want to, hey, give you pluses and all this stuff, but I felt that it was a poor effort. Panel, what's your thoughts?
I'm sorry.
You go ahead.
No, I just want to go real quick because I have to go ahead and finish dinner. But I'm glad that you played this last particular cut of the video, because that really pretty much sums it up. I mean, this dude is like, he's coming straight out of a comic book. I mean, for him to try to appease both sides, that lets me know exactly where he's coming from. It's not a perspective of truth, right? You cannot serve two masters. You're going to hate one and love the other, like, period. And if it was strictly for him to try to get the truth out, he wouldn't be trying to appease either side. He would just be about the truth. The truth is going to stand all by itself. It's not biased. So that's my perspective, and that's it.
Yeah, also with that, I mean, it just kind of, it was clear with that last clip, that just encapsulated everything he stood for, basically, like,
Yep.
And he had to try to like bring us down as well as bring them down by saying they lie and we lie. Nah, somebody's clearly lying. If you're doing the digging, somebody's been lying for a long time, but somebody's been lying for centuries. Somebody's, just coming into knowledge of who they are. And, he talks about black,
Yeah.
he talks about the bruise, us, as if he's not even one of them, as if he's not one of us. So, what, spiritually, yeah, bro, you're not one of us. So you can go over there with them.
He's not one of us. Not mentioned.
I mean, if he's doing all the scholarly research, I mean, he would have come across the fact that he is. And it's sad because, you can't make it up, man. I mean, like, I'm just laughing because it's like, really, like, your goal was to please, enemies. That's That's a non-starter right there.
So, Hebrew girl, did you get to hear that clip?
No, unfortunately, I did not. My phone died. I've been having a really hard time of it, and I apologize. But I can't comment because I don't know anything.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna come back around. We're gonna have final comments. Karis, what was your thought on that clip?
I would say honestly, academic dishonesty.
Yep.
And the reason I say it is because clearly, if you were to actually research, you understand that there was a reason that Black people were brought on over. And they were brought on over through a moral and religious edict. You know, when people have to understand at that time, those papal states, which is basically what they were called because of the Pope's control, even though they had monarchs, they still had the monarchs were still in servitude to the Pope, to the fish hat. So with that being said, this is why you have the illiquy, the dumb diversus. And see, he wanted to shy away from what was causing, because you have to bring somebody from point A to point B. What's happening in point A that was causing them to come from point A to point B? What was the transit like? What were the logistics like? These are the simple 5 W's that he didn't want to answer. And he could have simply stated it in that time frame. Look, in the 1450s, this is what was going on. This is what it was targeting. It was targeting Black Yahudims. And the targeting of the Black Yahudim, you know, you also had some of the Ish folks, some of the Ashkenaz and the Sephardim bringing up cause. But at that time, it became advantageous because guess what also was happening? It was also advantageous to take on their identity. So he didn't want to actually explain that this identity theft has been going on for over 600 years. And when he was saying, well, you know, there's certain texts that, you know, that they're non-white, it's simple that he could have clearly said, look, they were Black. Because you want to know why? It's a description. They're swarthy. They were Black. They were Black like an Ethiopian. They were Black like, you know, there's all these different contextual factors that are on out there that clearly state all the goals that we have. There's explorers. There's philosophers. There's anthropologists at that time that's even stating the case. They're studying the skulls. They're studying everything that they have. So you can't say that these folks did not have a level of academia and research that could support it. They do. The problem is this is academic dishonesty, and really it's just being dishonest, and therefore the level of credibility for him, he's not credible. Even if he were to try to act like he's credible, he's not. Because all I could think in the back of my mind was that as he's looking into that camera, on the other side of the camera is his wife with a knife, giving that little "I'm gonna slit your throat," you know, effort. Mess up, say something, you know. And so this is why he was talking in circles. You know, he did not have a lazy eye. He was looking past that monitor screen like, she gonna get me if I say something wrong. Oh, that's all I got.
Brother Asaph, what's your comments on that?
Yeah, he is not being genuine with his research at all. And if you look at history books like The Jews of Africa by Sidney Meldlesham, and also one of the books that I cited earlier, The History of the Jews in Spain and Portugal from the earliest times to their final expulsion from the kingdoms and their subsequent dispersions by E. Lindo, you see that there were some Europeans, Jews like Maimonides, expelled to North Africa. But in the main, all these books point to the Ashkenaz being separate from us in Spain during the 1450s up to the 1452-1453 expulsion to Saint Tomé, and also that because you had a few Talmudic scholars expelled to North Africa, does not give them the credence to culturally appropriate and dominate our narrative, because they are not the people. Maimonides may have written some excellent stuff and some bad stuff, but in the main, from the 1400s, if you look at the writings of Maimonides and other people that I'm not going to cite, the narrative has been against us, and also Dum Diversus, which was operating at the same time, both factions against us. So we have no friends in this game at all.
Exactly.
And we can stand by ourselves because we've got the evidence. Even without the DNA, we've got the history beside us.
And you know, one thing I can say is what we're seeing today is one common unified fact, is that nobody has denied that blacks are Israelites. No one is denying. What they're debating is whether or not we're converts, right? But no one's denying that blacks are Israelites. So urban apologists, come on, we want the apologies now. You're an apologist, apologize, right? Because guess what? Right now, you can't stop the awakening. You can't stop this movement. Everyone's talking about us, but y'all say we don't exist and it never happened. Now you've been proven liars. I just had to say it. Any final comments, panel? We're gonna start with you, Hebrew girl.
You say about that
Go ahead.
scholar also, besides them not giving us the information, you know, you did a video or show about all skin folks ain't kin folks, and I believe that Esau looked just like us, and I believe that the only way you can tell he Esau is by what he do. I don't think Esau's skin is white or light. I think he looked just like us. So, and I believe those Ashkenaz are the seed of Satan. So, I mean, I could be wrong, I could be right, I don't know. But I also want to say that.
So it's better just so I could, tone you down a little bit. Just say Revelation 2939. Don't, I don't want to get blocked.
I said what wrong now? I'm sorry.
You said, could it be Satan?
Oh, that's what it's saying.
So let's not do that in context.
I'm quoting the Bible.
No. We talk about YouTube. This had nothing to do with the Bible.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, so since that's the case, then what does light have to do with dark? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we should leave them alone. We shouldn't talk to them. They have nothing to add to us. They are not value add anywhere, anyway, anyhow. Now, all the information we get, even our enemy, even we don't manufacture anything. We getting this information from them, but we also have the discernment of the Holy Spirit to show us what's wrong and what's right, and what to listen to and what not to listen to. As you say, spit out the bones.
Eat the meat, spit out the bones.
There is no meat to eat there, so we need to leave them alone. That's
okay.
all I'm saying.
All right.
And give it back.
Brother Karras.
All right. Well, just for some closing thoughts. Hey, Ministry of Cobra, can you share that flyer that I have?
I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let me bring this on up. This is for our sister, Dr. Catherine Alexander, and she wanted me to share this. It's a special online Heal and Reveal boot camp, and so that's going to go this Friday through Sunday of this upcoming weekend, the 18th through the 20th. And so there's details here, and I also have this listed on my covenantawakenings.com website. So it's covenantawakenings.com. It's listed there. So if you all are interested in an online healing and reveal boot camp, the information is listed on that site. So well, I'm going to take this off. All right. Yeah. So sorry, Jacoby, you got a bigger platform. So, I just had the hijack thing.
No,
You know how we
fine.
do. We do that hood advertising.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm glad you did it, because I forgot to get back in contact with Sister Alexander.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to make sure, I did that because I've been off this week. But family, here's the thing. We actually already said this a couple months ago. We said this actually last year. We said this awakening is going to get so big, they're going to start coming and doing and trying to coordinate, collaborate, all the things to be in the running. We said this. This isn't a secret. This actually is not a secret, because people in our community, Sister Shonda, Sister E, Pastor Kelly, all the channels, we were explaining this. And now, lo and behold, it's happening, because here's the thing: their narrative is the power is watering down. So if you don't have power, this is how power works. This is how the element of power works, because we've been a people that have never really been empowered. So when we see these power moves happening, this is what it's called. It's literally called a power move. We have to be cognizant of why that move is said. Why now? Because here's the thing. They weren't saying this a while ago, but all of a sudden they're saying this. Power move. So we have to understand, listen, whether or not they're being disingenuous, who knows? I don't know. But all I got to tell you is it all works in our favor, because you have to understand, the moment that they have to recognize something, that's the moment that they have to pay attention to it, right? The moment that you got an ache or a cut or a wound, you have to what? You have to treat it. So this is what they're looking at. They're looking at, oh man, we got to treat this thing before it gets worse. Well, the problem is it's already spread. We've already spread on out.
Yep.
And with our spread, every time they're thinking that they can try to shoot a little bit of chemo, it metastasizes even more. It gets bigger. It gets stronger. And what they're quickly finding out, they're not fighting against us. They're not fighting against us. We have no power. We're sheep. They're fighting against our Father. They're fighting against our shepherd. They're fighting against the Most High. And let me tell you, their arms are little compared to his. So I think it's funny that we can now voice this and articulate this, because every single thing that we have, the number one, our sword was our voice. This is our fight. You realize that, right? Our fight was just giving the Most High praise. That's our fight. And do you understand how deadly our mouth is? It's cutting them. It's cutting them to the sinew, and they cannot respond. This is you think that it's just doing, something small and minute. No, it is not. I've been telling you that. And now every single time you see these interviews, every single time you see this happen, the damage control, it lets you know it's bigger than what they want to let on. They just don't want to tell us that, because if we know that, if we get that affirmation, you know what happens? Then we become more powerful. That's been the whole thing. Never affirm, never tell them that they're strong. because we've been hearing that same context since slavery. So, with that said, shalom, salam, siyami, shalom, family.
Brother Asaph, final comment.
Yes, as we are coming out now with all this information, it's weakening them very badly. It's like when they appeal to their writers, like how they appeal to the church fathers, you know, these ancient rabbis. We've got the solution for them because we've been reading quite a lot. And as time is winding down now, they're losing a lot of traction. And they cannot stop this awakening, and it is a problem for them. I'd like to thank you very much for having me on the platform, and we hope to do this again at some point.
Thanks for coming on, Brother Asaph. Say it with your chest. Final comments.
Yeah, I got a few things I want to say, but before I touch on this debate, what we were just talking about, you know, the video you did on the gap theory.
Yeah,
I just had a comment on that. You know, we have about 6,000 years of recorded history, mankind, right? You know, that's man. You know, there's before that, the creation started before that. You know, I agree with the gap theory. But 6,000 years, we're entering the 7,000th year right now. You know, if scripture says, you know, a day is as 1,000 years. I believe right now we're in the day of the Lord right now, the beginning of the day of the Lord. Well, the day of the Lord. Now, the end of the day of the Lord is, you know, Armageddon, and when he comes back and, you know, he lays waste to, you know, all the nations and all that. But basically, 7 biblically is the number of completion. 8 is a number of new beginnings. So entering into right after the day of the Lord, we enter into the 8. That's the new kingdom, you know. And right here, the day of the Lord that we're in now, this possible 1,000 years, 1,000 years, I say, that's the millennial reign right here. So we're about to be exiting soon, going to our kingdom, land without walls, where we won't be bothered, all that, you know what I mean? But this is just the birth pangs of all this. This is the birth of a nation right now, and we're about to come out, go back to our land, and, you know, we're going to be good for the next 1,000 years. Yeah, they're going to come for a spoil. They're going to come against us, and, you know, we're going to fight back and, you know, all that. And then y'all's going to come and, you know, lay his judgment down. But yeah, I just want to say that 1,000 years and the 8, I mean, it all lines up. And also, you know, we know the slavery, those that enslave shall be enslaved and they shall get double. Well, we keep going back to, is it 800 years? Well, no, it's not 800 years because we only have 400 years here in the Americas. But slavery started, as they pointed out, you know, in the 1500s. So really, it's 900 years to 1,000 years. So that all coincides and it all fits in together. It all weaves itself together. So I just wanted to share that because I thought about it after I heard your message. So, but with this issue, I want to give a side note. I got a comment that got blocked and shut down instantly when I made the comment on YouTube. It was a comedian, Barry Brewer. He had a skit about you know, a black man, you know, in a relationship with a Hispanic woman or whatnot, and she's making all this food. You know what I mean? She's making their quote unquote cuisine, and she fried some plantain. She made Spanish rice and all this stuff, and then she fed it to him, and he was acting like he didn't care for it, like, you know, it's like not really his bag. And I'm like, okay. And I commented, you know, all that is Nigerian food. Like, you know what I mean? That's what we eat down there. We eat fried plantain. We have a dish called jollof rice. It's just like Spanish rice, but with a lot more flavor. I mean, Spanish rice is kind of bland compared to it. We put a lot more into it, but it's very similar. And then we also have something called mai. It's very much like tamales. We do it sometimes with beans, but we do it also with corn too. So I said that comment and YT just had to shut it down instantly. This is before either you or Dante had hosted Benai Israel. So I didn't even know the full historical context of how long we were in Portugal. I already known about the Moors in Europe, and I knew we were in Europe, but I didn't know we were in Portugal / Spain for 800 years. So that intermixing of culture, because I always thought, how come Spanish people eat the same things we eat? Like, I mean, being here, living in Nigeria, these are staple dishes down there. You can look up jollof rice. It's one of the big dishes down there.
Yeah.
So I had to say that. I mean, our culture down there, last time I was down there for a wedding was in 2000. My sister got married, and we have a feast. Like, that's our tradition. Like, you know, when you get married, you know, if you have the means to, it's really something like a week affair. You know what I mean? It's like a week-long feast. That's just the way we do it down there. Like, you know what I mean? My dad hosted it because it was his daughter, you know. So he did it in his house, did a traditional wedding, you know, all kind of things went on. So, I mean, that's just stuff I had to share that, you know, for YT to take down that comment I made on that video. I mean, it literally, it didn't even stay on for a minute. It just got deleted right away.
Yeah. So they have an AI, and if you use certain words, they just gonna remove it. It happened
I
to
don't
me.
even think it was that, because I mean, I know the words used to trigger it. I was surprised, you know, the word Negro triggers it.
It does.
The word Negro.
Yeah.
I found that out from going back and forth with the racist on YouTube. He was saying, he said, why can't I use the word Negro? That's a scholarly accepted term. Like, and you know, and that's when I went, oh, okay, so I stopped using the word Negro. But no, I was just talking about the dishes and stuff. I mean, like I had people like tag on to my channel and start like kind of watching me and watching my comments, because I was saying a lot of things, and yeah, you know, I guess I got reckless with the truth. It's okay, you know. I mean, it got me shut down, but
don't get me shut down, okay?
All right, brother, I won't do that. I mean, I got you, man. I got you. But no, man. But yeah, no, I just wanted to share that, and you know, also, man. I mean, now this is controversial, but I gotta say, because I do get reckless with the truth. I do want people to weigh this one out and think about it. And, you know, I spoke to you about this in love before, brother, but I do want to say this, you know, and we disagree on it, but, you know, when they say black people sold each other into this, you know, into chattel, it's not quite like that. I mean, that's not true. And I just say that because they generalize black is not a people, for one. And the people that were doing that, the Berbers, and I'll say the people that follow the I religion, those are not us traditionally. And those are not. And that's why I say I talk about in my country, I can speak about the certain tribes that do it. I'm not going to name them right here because I don't want to get anybody shut down, because I said some stuff like that. They might say it's hate speech. But they had slave markets in the north of my country. Israel in my country, Nigeria, resides in the south. That's like the boundary. The British came, they put the North in power as a way of subjugating Israel. All the presidents of my country have been from the North, from two tribes, really one tribe. And that tribe is mentioned in the book, in books, documenting books where they exchanged weapons for them to go on raids. Initially, Gentiles came down there and ran raids, but that wasn't very efficient for them. They're not very conducive to the climate down there. Also, you know, if they get certain diseases, they'll really die off. So, and they rather have people that know the terrain and know what to do. I'm not just theorizing this. There's actually scholarly evidence on documenting arms being sold to these people in exchange for slaves. You can check out the channel, The Renaissance, if y'all feel led to. I'm not trying to push this theory on anybody, because a lot of people get upset on just the people on the continent. There's this divide between people on the continent and the blacks in captivity. Israel in captivity. Israel there, Israel here. And they really believe this narrative that we did that to each other. I'm glad that when you had the conversation with T3, he spoke what he had learned, that, oh, you know, in the cases that some people did sell people, they thought it was indentured servitude, because there is that in Israel down there. There is no slavery system down there. Like when I grew up, we had like, you know, Israel, we would bring from like the village to come to the city, and they would serve as cooks, maids, and stuff like that for a certain amount of time. That's very common. That's common all over.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's, like I said, you know, it's expensive to live in the city. So you bring them, and then they transition, and then they can then start a life in the city. But most of them come from like the rural areas. This is still done today. You know what I mean? And so when I was there, that's what it had. We even had a guy from Ghana. He was a cook for my dad for a while. And it's a way to, you know what I mean, to get somebody, you know, and this is just common stuff. Like I said, I think T3 and them told you they had a nanny or somebody in the house taking care of the kids. Similar type dynamic. That's very common stuff. So the slavery component, there's only one group of people that have always had slavery as a core institution of their faith. And we know who that is. So I'm not trying to delve into that, but that's where that comes from. And, you know, there's a lot of deliberately trying to muddy the waters and say Berbers are us and certain people are us, and they're not. I mean, when you break down Africa, the three main strong population groups, the Bantu, Nilotic, and the Cushitic. And y'all can go do, I've really studied this out. Now, I'm not trying to say that some of Israel didn't sell Israel out. It did occur, but it didn't occur in the numbers to, you know, facilitate a trade the way, you know, I mean, the triangular trade ran. That's not, it wasn't profitable to us. It wasn't profitable for anybody because we still lived in slave conditions back there and still are to this day down there.
Yeah,
you know, I have a lot of brothers come up to me and ask me, hey man, if they know I'm Nigerian, because a lot of people don't know, but the ones that do that I've grown up with, they were like, man, I try to talk to an African chick, like, I don't know, like, why don't they like us or something? They think that in some senses, some people do. But I also know a lot of people that have been married, you know, across, you know, from the continent to black people, a lot. But some people think that some of the Africans come off kind of uppity. You got to understand, some of them, if they made it to the States, they made it to the US, they kind of come from a lot of money back there. And unfortunately, some of them, they do have a very high-minded sense. I dated a chick, and I made good money. I'm in the top bracket, but I had the sense that she would look down on me just because I know that the kind of mentality down there. Her dad worked for the United Nations, and she was a geologist. And she had a Gentile mom, but her dad was from Kenya. They really pride like education. And I went to school, but you know, I didn't complete my degree. And then, you know, so they're like, okay, well, they're like very high educated because her mom was a professor. I already know the questions I was gonna get asked, dating her and talking to her and all this kind of stuff. They really pride themselves on certain things down there. So there's that sense of the people, like they really pride themselves on education, a lot of different merits and things back home. And I think there's a lot of arrogance on some of those people. They come here and start to thrive and make it. They don't see the racism component the way y'all do. It's like y'all don't see the irreligion component back home the way we do. It's hard for me to explain that in the way you get it, but the way, you know, Black Americans feel terrorized by, you know, the Gentiles basically is the way we feel down there by the irreligion. I call them turbans, and the original turbans, the ARA people, are Black anyway. So when you see Boko Haram, there's always a lot of violence down there perpetrated against Israel down there. And this goes on in a lot of different countries. I think I spoke to you about that movie, Hotel Rwanda. They left that element out of it. But if you dig deep and do the research, you'll find there's a religious component to that. But they didn't want people to know that. So they didn't put that in the movie.
Yeah, and I heard too that the French was involved in that as well.
A lot of countries get behind things. I mean, I want to say it was the Netherlands, I think. Yeah. It might be the Netherlands or Netherlands or Denmark.
Well, look, say it with your chest. I'm gonna have to shut it down.
No, I got you. Sorry, I had a lot to say. I just wanted to get that in because, you know, brother, I love you like a brother, Jacoby, man. You know, I love your ministry. Everything you're teaching is sound. I don't want to go against what you're saying on certain things, but live back
some
there,
of the stuff you talked about, I do agree with, and I don't think that because I do believe some of the Israelites sold Israelites. I just believe that they didn't believe that they were going into chattel slavery.
Yeah, that's what I grew up believing too.
Yeah, and then there's
that.
And then there's the
that
Edomites who lived in Africa as well, who sold us into slavery. And I understand who some of those people are as well. And they had an alliance with the Westerners, right? So I know some of that, right? So I don't believe that everybody who sold us were Israelites. I don't believe that. I just believe, just as Israel was fighting each other during 70 AD, right? They were fighting each other in Africa as well, because they forgot who they were. A lot of them.
Yeah,
right?
we were, and a few of us converted to the I religion too.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's that. And I mean, growing up, I saw people with like they call them tribal marks, and their cuttings on their face.
Yeah, exactly.
That's in the scripture where it says you should not make cuttings in your flesh. That's not a traditional Israel thing, but see, the ones that went to certain religions, they start practicing that.
Yeah,
exactly. These are things I learned later. But no, it was a long conversation though. But I mean, I just wanted to get that out because, it bothers me because I see some comments and people really feel, I can feel this like.
Well, I tell you what we could do is, if you want to do it, we could have a discussion on the history, right? We just need to, sort of not be overly abusive with the description of it, but we can have that conversation.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. I got you though, brother, but I just wanted to share that, man. And like I said, I just want people to understand that, you know what I mean, that, it didn't, the scale of which slavery existed. I mean, it nobody would sell their brothers and sisters and family for a profit. I mean, there was no profit.
Yeah.
Y'all should check out the video. There was a video Dana Stevens did, man. I almost bawled out crying watching that, man, about the last, pretty much the exit trip they made, the last time the slaves were on a continent.
See, I'm not convinced you and I disagree on this version of history, right? So I guess I don't know what we discussed in the past, but I'm like, I haven't disagreed with anything you just said. I mean,
the main point I'm trying to make is the I religion people have us, and they're not of us, the predominant ruling class in that country. I can speak to that country's dynamics. I lived there. I know the way that's kind of shaped. There actually was one Israelite president, but he only came into power when president from the other tribe.
Yeah, so we're talking about the tribe that Buhari belongs to, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Buhari has been a previous president. He was a president in the 70s. Yeah. This is how much they don't want, you know what I mean? When I left in 94, a Hebrew was elected to be president, and they put him in jail, and he died in jail. And, there was literally talks of a civil war brewing. So that's why my dad sent us over here, because we've been here. We were all born here. So he's like, you know what? It's going to be unstable. Y'all should leave. That's why we came. So, I mean,
yeah. So like
it's a loaded conversation, man. But the point I'm trying to say is they have a very, they didn't even want the slave trade to end because they were benefiting so much from it.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the past, I used to think the tribe that Buhari belonged to, I thought they were Israelites. I don't believe that no more. Right.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at. That's my main issue, because you said it before, and I talked to you about it before, and I don't think you received it from me when I said it, but that was what I'm trying to get at. Like, I've lived down there, and I went to school with them, and they have different traditions and customs. They look different. Some of them now. The other thing about it is they did take Israelite slaves. So somewhere down the line, they did procreate with Israelite women. So some of their features get mixed in with some people. It's not as obvious with some people, but they do have distinct features. They have slender.
Yeah, because I looked deeper into the history and what was going on in their relationship with the West. I said, that's deeper than them being Israel and Israel not knowing. They belong to the same group that Herod belonged to. That's what I see. So
I'm glad we're having a discussion, because I want people to do the research, man. I mean, because check out this brother's channel, The Renaissance, and I don't agree with his, theology. I think he's a little off on that part, but the research he does he brings forth scholarly documents from the 1700s, 1800s, and stuff like that, showing records of them doing dealings with these people for barter for slaves.
Yeah.
And these people traditionally in my country are always in the military, always in government.
Yeah.
So they run the country, and that's an agreement they have. And it's funny, all the resources are pretty much in the South. When we talk about the oil, all the oil-rich states, are all in the South. They're in the North. Now, I know from we got to shut it down. But if you ever want to have a conversation about it, man, there's a lot of deep things.
Let's do this. Send me an email. Let's have this conversation. And yeah, I definitely want to have it because I've changed my view on that. Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that because I used to say this a lot on YT, and I think that's also the reason I got shut down because I did wake some people up about that. I mean, I gave them examples, and I mean, like every time I see a lot of violence, you know, just a lot of mass killings in Africa, that's typically what it is. You know what I mean? And you know, people in the West, you know, they're not aware of this, so they don't really catch that. And then also, you know, I mean, the West doesn't really want to report anything to point us. They like that if they can paint us in a barbaric light, like, oh, look at these savages over there killing each other for nothing.
Yeah.
They won't bring the context to it.
Yeah. All right, say it with your chest. Thanks for coming on. And
thank you, my brother.
I'm gonna close it down.
All right.
All right, family. I want to thank y'all for listening. I want to thank all of y'all who support this ministry, who have given, you know, for the super chat, who are patrons and Cash App givers. And you know, go ahead and share this video, and you know, hopefully YT doesn't take it down or do something to it. I thought we were cordial and respectful, but who knows today, right? So you know, it is what it is. Love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending.